What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another live and wired stream of Supergirl Radio. And we are going to be talking about Superman, the 2025 movie again, from the point of view of listeners, sending us in feedback to hear their thoughts. We talked at great length.
We gave you a 2.5 hour episode at least about Superman. Also, by the way, I just wanted to point out that your background, I thought that there were like people behind you.
You didn't see my whole my crew, my staff of people.
You got Ron Troop back there. I see him.
He's doing just as much as he did in the movie. So
we're not giving him lines, but he is there.
He is there. You can see him. Yeah, no, I am not. I aspire to work at the Daily Planet, but these are not real people. This is in fact a green screen. You just can't see it. Yes. Okay. So I think our audio sounds okay. If mine sounds okay, StreamYard has changed their user interface in the background. I don't know if you see it where the settings are like different on the bottom. It's weird.
Yeah, they are. Oh my God, I didn't even notice these.
So I just since they've changed things up, I just want to get on here and just check our audio, make sure everybody sounds okay and looks okay. And so I think we're good to go. So yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about some news that came out, and then we have some emails from listeners, and we can respond to those and talk about them as discussion points. So if anybody is watching and you have thoughts in the chat, feel free to share those as well, and we'll try to get to those. We didn't do a very good job because we had so much to say about the Superman movie, trying to get to as many people in the chat as we could. This week, I think we'll be able to get to more thoughts. So if you didn't get to send in an email, feel free to share in the chat. Okay, so enough about that. We'll go ahead and get started. And by the way, Morgan, I don't know if you see, but this is episode 495.
No way.
We're closer to 500. We're so close.
It feels like we were just a young lass of 400 like days ago, doesn't it?
I'm giving myself anxiety reading that out. So we are close to episode 500. So I just wanted to point that out while we're here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started because we got a lot to talk about, and hope you'll share your thoughts in the chat.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yes! Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review Superman 2025, starring David Corenswet, and the movie was written and directed by James Gunn. So the previous episode of Supergirl Radio is all about Morgan's thoughts, my thoughts, a lot of in-between things there, a lot of thoughts. We hadn't been podcasting for about... We went long on that one. Hadn't podcasted in about 4 weeks. We just had a lot pent up, I think.
We hadn't podcasted in so long, and then you get like and then it pops up in your feed, and you're like, how many hours?
It was close to 3 hours.
Here's the thing: if you line up the podcast with the movie, I believe the podcast would go extra long. I think the movie would be done and the podcast would still be going.
We podcasted almost every hour that we were gone, like weeks that we were gone.
We had a lot of thoughts and feelings.
They're all pent up.
Yeah,
we just unleashed it. So I hope everybody enjoyed that 3 hour long episode of our thoughts on the Superman movie. But this week, this episode of Supergirl Radio is all about listener thoughts and some feedback from people listening to that 3-hour episode of our discussion, and some people just sharing their thoughts about what they thought about the movie. So exciting to get to hear some other perspectives and see what people had to say. Because I think some of them bring up some good points and valid points. So we'll discuss all of those. But before we get to those emails, we need to get to
the news.
According to Variety, James Gunn will write and direct the next installment in the Super family. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav confirmed during the company's earnings call. Gunn had previously said in various interviews during his Superman press tour that he was writing a new movie featuring David Corenswet's Superman in it, although he always remained coy on whether it was a standalone Superman sequel or something else. Zaslav provided no clarity there, opting to say next movie in the Super family. Thanks, dude. But it's news that Gunn will direct the movie in addition to writing the screenplay. He served the same dual role on Superman.
So I've seen,
Super
I don't,
family.
yeah, well, you know what the super family means. That means anyone could be in there. It could be
Everyone.
It could be various characters. There are Superman family comics
That's true.
that cover a lot of the stories of Superman, of Clark Kent, of Lois Lane, of Supergirl, of Jimmy Olsen. It could mean a variety of characters in
To me,
there.
this means Supergirl is probably also going to be in it.
So there are some things that have floated around. I didn't get a chance to grab a screenshot, but I've seen what I think are storyboards that have Superman, Supergirl, and some people are saying Brainiac.
Interesting.
So I'm not like going to show it because who knows? It could be like an official thing. It could be an idea that they had one time and they were like, we're doing something else. So I don't know that we can confirm it's Superman, Supergirl, and Brainiac. But I was personally, because I did not care for the James Gunn Superman movie, just personally, I know a lot of people love it and that's great. I'm so glad you're happy with it. I was kind of hoping Supergirl wouldn't be in it. So like we would get maybe another Supergirl movie that was maybe directed by somebody else. Give somebody a fresh chance to do it. You know, James Gunn has done a lot of these things. Maybe let somebody else kind of take the reins. But if Supergirl is in the next family movie, I get to wear that just here for Supergirl shirt again.
Exactly. And then it's like, yeah, I know there's other super characters. There's other people in this movie, but me personally, just here for Supergirl.
That would be accurate, though. That would be so accurate
for
me.
you. Especially, you'd be
for
like,
me.
Listen, I wouldn't have been here, but Supergirl's here, and so here I am, just here for Supergirl.
They keep making me come watch these things. Against
Like,
my will.
Give me like a clip show of just all the Supergirl parts.
Yeah, somebody clip me just the Supergirl parts, and we can review those. So take out all the context. I just get
it'll be better, I think.
So Morgan, what are your thoughts on a potential super family movie that might be in the works?
I think it's exciting. I like the idea of having a movie potentially with both of them in it, because she was only in like a second of Superman. And obviously, I don't suspect that he'll be in Supergirl. You better not be. That's her movie.
We already have to deal with Lobo. I don't want to put Superman.
Exactly. First off, no. Just start slapping people's hands when they try to put Superman in my Supergirl stuff.
Put some water in a little squirt.
No. So it will be fun to sort of see those two characters like play off of each other. I assume, again, we don't know any details about this, but I do like the idea of having them both in the same movie, which I have to assume, given Super Family, and we've gotten kind of just introduced to these two super characters, that it's mostly going to be the two of them. Although, again, we don't know.
I do think if we're piggybacking on the Superman movie that was presented to us recently in the summer of Superman, they're going to have a lot of House of L stuff they need to work out. I feel like
that's true. That is true.
Maybe they're going to try to go on a journey to figure out what was going on Krypton.
Oh, Krypton doesn't seem so fun anymore, does it, Clark?
What's the harem stuff about? They need to investigate that. But even though I'm not jazzed about it, I'll still go watch it if Supergirl's in it, and we'll talk about it. But I do think, in theory, the idea of Superman and Supergirl on the big screen together would be really fun. We did get to see Superman and Supergirl on the Supergirl TV show and in the Arrowverse working together, and on Smallville, Clark and Kara on that show did get to do some team up stuff, even though they weren't in their super suits. Did
no tights
on that, except
no tights.
Although she did fly.
They said no flights, but she did fly.
She flew much faster than Clark.
She's like, what are you waiting for?
This is so easy.
He's like, many seasons ago, my creators said no flights, no tights, and I cannot do either.
So I think she actually had the suit, well, like a partial suit and a secret identity, maybe. Well, did she have a secret identity before Clark?
It's been so long, honestly.
I can't remember.
But I believe it. I mean, let's be honest. Our girl is like a little bit ahead of the curve.
She's more advanced. She got there before Clark on Smallville, so that's pretty fun. But yeah, so that could be interesting to see what they could get up to on screen together, because I wasn't like loving their interaction in the Superman movie. I didn't quite think that Superman cared all that much about her. So I would hope that the Super Family movie might address that and have them bond in a certain way that made them seem like they were cousins and, actual family. So that's what I would hope out of that.
And I think that they could have a very like fun relationship, just because we are getting a Supergirl who's like more in the vein of like Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, where she's like a little bit messier, a little bit like rough around the edges, and Superman is a little bit more not established, but like not like that. So I think that she'll drive him a little bit crazy, which could be fun to watch.
So I guess we'll have to see what happens after the Supergirl movie in the summer of Supergirl.
After the summer of Supergirl,
maybe it will
which they're definitely going to do.
They're definitely it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be.
I've already planned it for my next year. I put summer of Supergirl starting in like June all the way through.
I can't wait for them to hang a Supergirl from a building.
It's definitely going to happen. You're not just going to have like a Supergirl like palette at Sephora. It's going to be full court.
They're totally going to do that. They're totally
110%. There's going to be the Supergirl palette at Sephora, and I'm like, you can look super beautiful.
That is 100% going to happen. But yeah, I don't know that they're going to hang a Supergirl from the Shard building. Just for the content creation, because let me just tell you, you would not have been able to see that Superman from the ground. He's
up there, I promise.
He was very, very tiny, but they paid a lot of money for that, so good for them, I guess. They
had that budget and they used it.
They made you look up. So
they're like, look up, and they're like, I still don't see it.
It's so tiny, like I can't see it without binoculars. Anyway. So I guess I don't know that we can confirm Supergirl is in it.
We can't confirm, but
the likelihood is probably pretty good.
It's hard to read that any other way. But again, obviously we come from a place of eternal optimism with Supergirl stuff. We really didn't even think the Flash movie was going to come out, but.
And for a long time, it didn't. So
it didn't feel like it was going to.
we had reason to believe something was going on. Mind the Gap in the chat says a Super Family movie could be Superman and Supergirl team up, or it could be Superboy. Oh. It totally could. You know what? If they're so inspired by All-Star Superman, they could give Lois Lane superpowers.
And
then not have her do anything super.
What if she doesn't do anything at all? She's at the end of the day, she's just like, that was fun, and then she goes to bed. Like, oh, I thought you would use those for something. No? Truly the worst Lois Lane. We're
just going to use every Supergirl Radio episode now just to dunk on that version of Lois Lane.
What was your tagline for All Star Superman?
Overrated nonsense.
Overrated nonsense. Rebecca Johnson.
You can quote me on it. Let's see. Game Freakness says they should have added an origin story and added an extra 30 minutes okay. So this is talk. We'll save this for the Superman movie feedback. And now that I'm reading that, so we're gonna star that Game Freakness and come back to it when we talk about the Superman movie specifically. I thought that might be something about the news section, but we'll save it for later on. Okay, so a possible Supergirl, another appearance, we'll see if that happens. So keep your eyes out on that for the next Super Family movie.
It's exciting. I read something somewhere, which is always a good sourcing, right? Somewhere in my somewhere on my travels, I brushed up against this information, so it's very verifiable. That the big tent poles of this DC cinematic universe was going to be like Superman, I think Batman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl, which we don't usually see. So I was like I was pretty hyped. I was like, let's put her in everything. Let's just have her poking around in Gotham in the Batman movie. She just like goes back into the corner.
I think she should be in the Batman movie.
She goes to the mascara. She's like, hey girls.
Actually, you could put her in. So Batman and Supergirl usually don't have a great relationship, but that would be a lot of fun.
That would be so much fun.
Batman's always very skeptical of her. And then sometimes in some Supergirl stories, Supergirl trains on the mascara. So that makes total sense to me.
We got her
trains
everywhere.
with the Amazon. Yeah, I think you could put her in everything. And
I think maybe Supergirl should be the Where's Waldo of this universe, where she's just in all the movies.
They don't like point her out. She's just there.
You're like, see her in Themyscira, like training in the background. You're like, wait, is that Supergirl? And then it pans past her.
I think it should linger on her for about 10 seconds, but never reference her.
Exactly. It's like, wait, go back. They're like, technically, she's in all the movies.
That'd be great for Millie Alcock.
It would be a great paycheck.
If she doesn't talk though, if she doesn't say any lines, does she get paid?
We gotta get her saying lines.
We gotta get her some lines. Yeah,
she's gonna be like, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
I like this idea. You could get me to all these DCU movies,
and you could wear the shirt so many times.
I would get so much use out of that.
I hear Supergirl's in this one. It's like, I thought this was the Batman movie. It's like,
Now I'm kind of excited. Now I want more Super Family. You sold me on it, Morgan. Thank you. Okay. Well, we'll keep everyone posted if we find out any more about that development in the new universe, penned and directed by James Gunn. All right. Well, I think, Morgan, should we get to some listener feedback about the new Superman movie?
I don't think I've ever noticed this feedback graphic. It's so beautiful.
Well, we've had it for a long time. I probably should update it. It's very old now.
I don't know. I was like, oh, beautiful.
I'm glad you liked it.
Okay, so we have, I believe this is one of the longer emails we've gotten.
So I wanted you to read it because you're a much better reader than me. So
I'm gonna get every word wrong now because the pressure is gonna be too great.
I think the listener should have included Carmina Burana, just to
really throw me off. I just start crying and run out of the podcast. I can't do it. Okay, one of our listeners, Sam, wrote in some thoughts about Superman, writing, "It's been a while since I last emailed, but I felt the subject of your next podcast." This is before the podcast. Superman.
Sorry, I didn't take that out. No, I'm glad you edited that.
2025. Superman 2025 was worth dropping you a line. Number one on the list is the title of the movie. When I first heard that James Gunn was changing the title from Superman Legacy to just Superman, I didn't think much of it, but as time went on, I grew to dislike the change. For the simple reason that whenever I was talking about the movie or trying to do an online search for news or reviews, I had to describe the movie as James Gunn's Superman or the 2025 Superman movie in order to distinguish it from the other Superman properties or just the character. It feels clunky and imprecise in a way that having a distinct title would not. If I were to ask you, what do you think of Superman? I could mean the character, or the movie or the character's depiction in the movie.
So this is also the problem with Supergirl. If you look
Yes,
at for Supergirl in IMDb, you're going to get the TV show, you're going to get the Helen Slater movie, and now you're going to get the Millie Alcock movie. So
I
it's
understand like wanting it to be simple and like, you know, like you would say to your friends if you're like, oh, I'm going to see like Supergirl, like the Supergirl movie. But yeah, it's like it's bad for actually discussing it. It's bad for SEO. Like it's bad to try to Google it. Like Sam said, like yeah, when you try to Google, every time I Google Superman, I have to do like Superman like 2025 or like something like that to put it in to differentiate it from just the character or the other Superman movie.
because if you're discussing the Superman movie,
Yeah.
are you talking about Superman the movie? Or are you talking about the Superman? Like it's
Exactly.
you would have to clarify it anyway when talking about it. So why not just clarify it in the title?
Like this feels like it was a marketing decision that was made like incorrectly to me. Like somebody was like, if you call it Superman Legacy, like will people even like understand? Yes.
Yeah, now I feel like anytime I write Superman, I have to put in parentheses 2025.
2025. Yeah. I've noticed
No.
that too. Or like I'm Googling something because the Christopher Reeve Superman will pop up and it will like, do you mean that Superman? Or do you mean the 2025 one? It's like, oh God.
Because I believe the Christopher Reeve movie was called Superman, but
it-
just
I believe, yeah.
colloquially, that's a very hard word to say.
It is.
We have now started calling it Superman the movie.
Yeah.
But I think it initially
I think its
was
actual
titled
title, yeah,
Superman.
is Superman. Yeah.
So it because then
It's
you have
confusing.
Superman and then Superman 2 and then Superman 3 and then Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I don't know why the last one got like a
They're
final
like,
title.
this one is so good, you guys.
This one we had to put a title so you knew it was over. Like this is the end.
This one's really gonna put a nail into the coffin of
This is
these
gonna
movies.
tie everything up in a nice little bow.
Everyone's gonna love this one. Yeah, I mean the same thing with Supergirl, right? Like the Supergirl, Helen Slater Supergirl movie was called Supergirl.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna have the Millie Alcock Supergirl movie also called Supergirl.
Also, the TV show is Supergirl.
And the TV show, yeah, that's worse. It's worse with Supergirl because there's a TV show.
Yeah. So
Could you imagine if Smallville was also called Superman? What are you asking me for?
Well, and even with the Superman TV shows, there were in the 50s, it was The Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
And then when Lois and Clark came around, they were like, it's Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Exactly.
So
they were like, we understand that there was a thing called this before. And now we've gotten to the point where they're like, who cares if it was called this before? It's like, I do. It's hard to Google.
But then everybody just calls it Lois and Clark.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
Like, why did you have to put The New Adventures of Superman?
Yeah, it didn't need that subhead. Your TV show simply shouldn't have a subhead. I feel that strongly.
I agree.
It's not like it was called like Lost. The island is crazy.
Well,
Although a good name.
It really helps clarify.
Oh, I'm turning around on that.
But yeah, I agree with that that comment. Is the titles have become awkward.
Yeah. So Sam said, overall, I enjoyed the movie, aside from a few minor issues and points of contention, which I will get into shortly. Much of what I have to think or say about the movie cannot help but be in comparison to previous iterations of the character and depictions of him on screen, particularly Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill's take on the character. For some people, it's a binary choice of which take on the character was right and which one was wrong. Personally, I'm open to different takes and find people pitting one against the other to be somewhat aggravating. Rebecca, in the past, I have seen you post a screenshot from Batman v Superman, in parentheses, I think, in response to people.
I post a lot of things. It could be anything.
It could be anything. In response to people complaining that there is no color in Zack Snyder's first two DC outings. What I would say is that when people were talking about color and what they felt was missing, James Gunn's approach seems to be closer to their preference. I'm not as well versed as you on these matters, so I wondered if you could provide me with the language to describe the difference, because obviously there technically was color in Zack's work, but not in the way people were complaining meant. So how would you describe the difference?
This is a really good question and something I was really trying to think about. And it made me think about when Man of Steel came out, I was trying to find this video a little while ago and I couldn't find it, but I remember distinctly when Man of Steel came out, somebody on YouTube was like, I'm going to fix the Man of Steel color problem. And so what I assumed they did was they took the video and took the saturation bar.
They just took that
went
saturation
all
bar
the way up, because I remember like faces were orange and everything. I mean, like the suit looked great.
Have you ever seen that episode of Arrested Development where Lucille is like, make me look younger, and they turn up the contrast on her face so much that it's just like white, completely white. It's perfect.
So sometimes when I hear people who complain about the color, I think of that person on YouTube who was like, I've done it. I've fixed it. I was like, no, you've made it way worse.
Similar, there was like some complaints online about Wicket. They were like, Wicket is not colorful enough, or some scene or something, and that was in the trailer. And they were like, look it, I'll fix it. And then it was like, it looked terrible. And it was like, maybe don't fix it.
My thought on this is that James Gunn was going for a more comic booky aesthetic. I think he captured it to a degree. I do think his look in using the color and upping the brightness made it look like a TV show, in my opinion. It looked a lot like the Arrowverse, which I guess is fine, but for a film, I think it should have a different look. But I think for what James Gunn was trying to achieve, I think he did it. But I would also say that if you make that comment, you would also have to say, Zack Snyder in Man of Steel was trying to go for a more grounded story, putting Superman in the real world. And if you do that, it doesn't really make sense to have everything be super colorful and super, saturated, because the real world is not like that. Even though I'm sure we all wish we had orange faces. But that's not what he was going for. Zack Snyder was going for a more realistic point in that. And so to the email referencing it, Batman v Superman, I don't think gets a lot of credit for being super beautiful and very colorful. One of my favorite moments in that movie is when Lois is in the LexCorp helicopter. She's been kidnapped, and he's I think it's KG Beast is flying her to the rooftop to have a conversation with Lex. And there's a shot that goes across the helicopter. It's mostly dark around the edge, but then it flies over the LexCorp sign, which is like big, bright orange. And just that color really just pops out of it. And so sometimes I think people don't give that use of color enough credit. And I think what makes the difference is deep blacks. So if you have a black color in quotation marks that is really actually like gray, or like a dark gray, it's not a deep black. It's not a true black. And that, I think, makes a big difference. It's almost like I've heard people describe it as like comic book inking. If you don't have the inking and you just have the color, it doesn't it just doesn't look right. So I think, and I've heard Zack Snyder talk a lot about his wanting to have those deep blacks as a filmmaker. And so what I have done, to tell, send people on a journey where you don't have to listen to me. I have in the video live stream, video description, I've included links to some videos about color in DC films, color in other films. I put something in there about Wes Anderson. I've been on a real Wes Anderson kick recently.
I need to watch more Wes Anderson movies.
I loved The Life Aquatic. That's been my favorite one.
Oh, I haven't watched that in so long.
It's a lot. He uses a lot of the same cast members. He does, the same actors.
Bill Murray's in a bunch.
Bill Murray, what's his face? Owen Wilson, Angelica Houston's in a lot of them. But I just enjoyed The Life Aquatic. It was so quirky and fun that I enjoyed it. But he uses color in some unusual. Well, I shouldn't say unusual, but like very distinctive to him as a filmmaker. And he has a real trademark for that kind of thing. So I've been trying to understand his use of color and symmetry and things like that. But I will say that it's funny that Zack Snyder's movies get so much critique on color when the MCU had a real color, like a genuine color problem where everything looked dirty gray and concretey. And so I've included links that try to figure out that problem. And so there's a lot of people think it's, oh, well, if you have, multiple characters in a scene that have bright superhero suits, you can't play with the art department and the costuming. You can't make things distinctive to one character, or if you shoot outdoors in the daytime, it's much harder to achieve, a real deep black in the daytime versus nighttime. So there's a lot of people who have a lot of theories on this kind of thing. So I've included a lot of links of resources, which I would encourage people. I'm going to put it in the audio podcast as well. If you're interested in color and color grading, I found some really good videos that do talk about that. And if you don't follow Movie Luts, LUTS, I would encourage you to do so. That's where I get a lot of my, so Movie Luts are lookup tables is what LUT stands for. Filmmakers will use LUTs as kind of like filters for their film and their video. So they can drop these LUTs. They're kind of like a template of sorts, like a starting place.
Mhm.
So it could be, a warm temperature, a color temperature, a colder look to it. And then they can kind of tweak it from there. So movieluts.com is where I get them for myself so that I can sort of cheat and not have to deal with color. I can save time. And so that's what filmmakers do. And so Movie Luts does a really good job of showing how color makes a difference, how different filmmakers use color differently, and what the theories are in using color in film. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, follow Movie Luts. I've really learned a lot from them. So
That's really cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So I think, color is just one of those tools that filmmakers can use to tell their story. And I think if you go into it assuming, oh, it has to be this kind of way, you're not doing, you're forcing something maybe on a filmmaker's choice that they didn't want to make, that they're not making. So I would just kind of try to look at it from, because the filmmakers, they sit in rooms and they look at color so intensely, like they're making choices. So I understand that filmmakers have a reason to do what they're doing. So I always try to approach it from a perspective of what are they trying to do with the color? What is this? Zack Snyder went to film school. He went to an art school. He knows color and color theory and how that stuff should work. So it's funny to me that some YouTuber was like, I'm going to fix this man's mistake. And it's like, I don't think you did anything close to that. You made it way worse.
What if we just let other people's art exist as it exists?
Yeah. So
we didn't fix things.
Yeah. So I think it's a disservice to the filmmaker to put my own, at least for me personally, to put my own thing that I want it to be. But I understand that like the Superman movie for a lot of people is more colorful for them, and that makes a difference for them. For me, I prefer, a deeper black in there. And if you're interested in specifically like really colorful movies, Larry Fong, who did a lot of movies with Zack Snyder, Watchmen, Sucker Punch, Batman v Superman, 300. Larry Fong is one of my favorite cinematographers. He actually follows me on Instagram.
Oh,
Name drop.
Brag.
But he is really good at using color and incorporating that into the cinematography. So if you watch those movies where it's Zack Snyder and Larry Fong together, it's a visual feast. So I would encourage people to do that if you haven't done it. But that's kind of, I don't want to talk too long on that because that could go on forever. But please check out the resources that I will link in this episode because they're really great videos and help you understand, or at least I would think that they would help you understand color grading a little more and why people make the choices that they do.
My only contribution to this is that people have not, I'm not saying that the Zack Snyder movies are this way. I am saying that people, there have been stuff that has been just truly too dark. There have been times I've been watching my TV going, who is there someone in there? And I'm just going to be specific. It was Game of Thrones. Some of those later season Game of Thrones episodes, I was like, are they even lighting this thing at all? Like, there's there you can say like, okay, I'm like filmmakers are making choices. Like Zack Snyder movies, I can always see what's happening. When you lose being able to tell what's going on screen, then your choice is wrong, and you should course correct.
Well, and that's a really good point too. That lighting makes a difference in that kind of thing.
Difference.
If you learn about color grading, you learn about HSB, which is hue, saturation, and brightness. So your how bright it is, how dark it is, that can also play into your color choices. So I think that's a really good point. Is that if and this is what so I'm trying to get into film photography and trying to be better about it and like learn from it and get back to when I was like 8 years old and film photography was all we had. I'm very old. But I talked to my film guy at my film development lab. We were talking about film stocks and which one I should try next, and he was talking about this certain film stock that needs a lot of light. And he was like, don't just because there is like it was a 3200 ISO, which means it's a pretty high ISO. It can be used for low light situations. But he was like, don't go into no light. You have to have some light. And so that's what I think about when I hear you talk about like Game of Thrones, like the end of Game of Thrones. Didn't they have like a Starbucks cup in like one of the shots? So I think they just gave up.
They were fully checked out. They're like, can people see this episode? Nah, put it on. But like I think about like movies like Sinners is a recent one that came out this year where most of the movie, like a big chunk of the movie, happens at night. I could see everything that happened in that movie. I was like, what's going on, man? Why can't some of these things and it's not just Game of Thrones. It's just Game of Thrones is the one that jumps so
it was a very famous example.
Because there was just one episode where I was like, Mike, am I going nuts? I can't see anything.
And I think they blamed like it's a setting on your TV.
They were like,
no, I shouldn't have to change the settings on my TV.
It's your cheap, gross televisions that can't handle our art. It's like, no, dude. If half your audience can't see your show, you have failed at making a television show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's an excuse.
I see Mine the Gap says, I've seen some people say the same about Weapons, which is the movie that just came out recently, the horror movie, that it looked too dark, but I saw everything. Yeah, I did see some people complaining about. I haven't seen it yet. I really want to, but I can't do it in theaters. It's going to be too gory for me. I have to wait until it's released on digital, which based on the release windows of everything now should be about 1 week.
Yeah, you just wait a couple weeks. It'll
be ready to stream probably tomorrow at this point. There does seem to be an issue sometimes with lighting things properly, but I wouldn't say that any of the Zack Snyder DC films, like I could always see what was happening.
Well, that's a good plus.
I can see it.
Doesn't always happen. Stanley also says, didn't know film color was a big deal. And yeah, Stanley, color is something a lot of filmmakers think about. They think about it in terms of the costuming. They think about it in terms of how they set up their shots. A lot of times, Wes Anderson is like a master of this, about how he uses simple, 1 to 2, maybe 3 colors in certain shots. And then he will also usually have characters associated with a color. And so his films are so distinctive and he's such a master at using color, the way he thinks about things. So it like The Life Aquatic, like everybody who works on the ship has these little red hats, with the blue suits. And so color theory is a thing that people think about all the time. What colors go well together. And I think it does make a difference in how you set up a shot. Movie Luts had a really great video, and I think I linked it maybe in the video description of this live stream, that it kind of put 2 scenes from 2 different movies. They were both Emma Stone movies. So I thought, well, that's interesting. They must have been on an Emma Stone kick. But they compared these 2 shots, and it was like, which one is more colorful? And so there was one shot that had a lot of color in it that you would think it would be a lot of color. And most people picked that one, but it's the one that had just a couple of colors, but they used it in a way that made the color stand out. So,
Ah,
I think it makes
cool.
a big difference. What was that crazy movie that was super bright and colorful, but it was like really like disturbing? The one where like the girl goes to another country with her friends and she becomes like the head of this cult. Do you remember Midsommar? Yeah. That's what it is. That's
that movie was amazing.
It's disturbing.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her. She's now like the cult of this like suicide cult or whatever it's called. That movie had a good use of color because it seemed inviting. It was super bright, super colorful, but everything was terrifying.
I think the brightness of that movie made everything happening like creepier.
Yeah.
Because usually in a horror movie, like the scary things happen at night, and here all of the scary things were happening in like a beautiful field in the middle of the day. And you're like, the cognitive dissonance of this is like, scarier in some ways. And that usage, and that was, the usage of color in that.
Yeah. So, definitely pay attention next time you watch movies. Like, see what people are doing with the colors, see what they're doing with the light, and see how in the wardrobe, the art department.
I think one of the famous ones was the Sixth Sense. I think that there was a specific. I can't remember it now, but there was a specific way that they used like red within that movie to try to like when you went back, to kind of maybe telegraph a little bit of the twist ending.
Mm-hmm.
I like that I'm not saying what the twist is, just in case somebody hasn't gotten
There's
around.
somebody out there that has not seen The Sixth Sense, and you do not want to spoil it for them.
First off, I don't want to spoil it for you, but second off, I don't want to get the email that's like, you could have given a spoiler warning for The Sixth Sense. Like, okay.
It's been out for 20-something years now.
You had some time to get to it is the thing. But yeah, I think that I remember reading something about how they used red in the movie and thinking like, oh, that's so cool. Of course, it's completely gone from my head now. I also found it somewhere on my travels through the internet.
I'm glad I lived in the time when I could see The Sixth Sense in the theater with the first people who consumed that movie.
I don't think I saw it in the theaters, but I did see it like when it came out, and like the ending hadn't been spoiled for me, and it did blow my mind.
Yeah. So I am sad for people who have had that spoiled for them. So yeah.
So we're not going to do it here. But anyway, once you watch it and you're like, whoa, mind exploded, then go look up the red thing and see if I'm right.
All right. Let's maybe keep going with Sam's email.
So Sam says, in a lot of ways, tonally and visually, this movie is quite distinct from Zack's work. And yet a lot of the story beats aren't so different from Batman v Superman. Lex Luthor's motive in Superman 2025 isn't that far removed from his motive in Batman v Superman. Both Luthors have an unreasonable level of hatred towards Superman, and both concoct schemes to turn public opinion against him. Both movies also bring up the political consequences of Superman interfering in international conflicts.
I will just step in and say that Lex Luthor's motivation in BVS is wholly different than Lex Luthor in Superman 2025, because Lex... and I think a lot of people miss this, but in the dialogue that Lex delivers, he was abused by his father. And so in order for him to get back at, God, he was angry at God that he had been abused by his father. And the closest thing he could do to kill God was to go after Superman, who he saw as a god. It was a physical manifestation of God that he could kill. And so that's why he went after Superman the way he did. So I just wanted to point that out, because Lex's motivation in Superman 2025, I guess he just doesn't like Superman because Superman's an alien, I guess. But I think Lex's motivation has a much deeper, like more personal thing there. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I think in the 2025 version, it is like a little bit more removed, where he just like, kind of hates the concept of Superman. He's like, I've put in all this work to be, so smart and so, on top of things, and you just show up and you get everything just because of your powers, which I think, again, that is I think the thing that they borrow the most from All-Star Superman is sort of like petty Lex Luthor, working on his triceps in the gym
in the booty shorts.
Exactly. Okay, so Sam says, I think one of the complaints about Superman in Batman v Superman that I somewhat agree with is that we never heard him argue his position. There was no back and forth like the argument Lois and Clark had in Superman 2025.
I'm just jump in here. There is a scene between Lois and Clark in the bathtub scene in Batman v Superman where they have almost very similar conversation to the one that Lois and Clark have in the 2025 version. So I wanted to say that there is a scene like that in BVS.
So Sam says, I always felt there is a value in healthy philosophical debate and a modicum of introspection. Yeah, introspection. Oh my God.
That's hard.
I can speak.
Yeah.
I actually think it would be unhealthy if a character like Superman never questions himself and whether he's doing the right thing in any given situation. I suppose it depends if you think Superman should be perfect or not. I don't really believe in perfection, but rather in aspiring to be better, which is partly achieved by making mistakes and learning from them. The plaque at the end of Batman v Superman that read, if you seek his monument, look around you, fit with the tone and themes of the movie. The idea that you don't need to hear Superman speak to know what he stands for, just look at his actions.
I will jump in here and say I always interpreted if you seek his monument, look around you to mean that like Superman is dead. The only thing left is the Superman statue. And but it's broken now. It was destroyed during the Superman Doomsday fight. If you look for his Superman statue, if you're looking for Superman, look around you because you can be Superman to other people. So that's maybe a different interpretation, but that's kind of how I see that. So I guess I see it a little differently than Sam does here.
It's not so much, as Sam goes on to say, it's not so much that we never saw Clark struggling with doubts in Batman v Superman, but rather that we never heard his arguments or rationale for his choices. We saw what he did, but not why he did it.
Okay, so I'm going to try to be quick about this because I know we got a lot of emails to go through. But I understand why people wanted Superman to say something during the Senate hearing in Batman v Superman. But the reason I think they don't have him say anything there is because the whole Superman storyline in Batman v Superman is a play on the passion narrative. So in the passion narrative, Christ goes up before Pontius Pilate, and he doesn't say anything. And so I think putting Superman, because he's definitely distinctly, no one can argue this against me. He is a Christ figure in Batman v Superman. He dies like Jesus in the very famous, now it's escaping my mind, the Pietà, the very famous statue of Mary holding Jesus. That it is so obvious that nobody can say no, that is not what is happening, because it's definitely happening. So if you look at the Superman journey in Batman v Superman, the persecution, the going before the Senate like Pilate, the dying where he's like descended from the cross, all of that stuff has a reason to be there. And they even had there was a concept art that was drawn, this like leaked at one point after the movie came out, where it was drawn just like one of the interpretations of the descent of the cross. So it was very distinctly trying to be the passion narrative going towards the crucifixion. So I personally think that that's the reason that Superman doesn't say anything there. And I think it's interesting that Superman in that movie doesn't necessarily have to say anything. I would rather him do things. I would rather him make actions to prove why he is the way he is. I kind of think sometimes Superman writers want to write the big hope speech. They want it to be big, but sometimes I'll be honest, I think it's really cheesy. I think it's corny. I think it's superficial. Like people loved that scene where Brandon Routh's Superman in the Arrowverse Crisis had that big hope speech in there. And I was like, oh, it just feels empty. Sometimes they feel empty because it's like, it almost feels fake to me. And so sometimes I don't need Superman to make a big speech. I want him to be Superman. So I guess that's a difference in how people see the Superman character. But that's why I kind of in Superman 2025, where he has the big hope speech with Lex, he was yelling all the time in the speech. And I was like, why is he yelling? So some of that is it's just a different perspective on, how you see Superman. Should Superman be a wordy, hope speech giver, or should he be just a man of action who proves, I mean, I guess they could be both, but I would prefer Superman to do good, not to just talk about good. So I guess that's just a difference in how people see things.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the scene with him and Lois to me was more impactful than the big hope speech at the end. I mean, obviously we watch a lot of Superman stuff. I'm used to the hope speech. I was like, here it comes.
Just really getting ready for it.
All right, here we go. But I think that the scene with him and Lois, I think in terms of seeing his character and how he thought was more impactful, especially since Lois was pushing back on him and sort of seeing him have to sort of defend his actions, I think was a better if you're going to get a distillation of the character, I think it was a better scene than the hope speech at the end where he was just like, this is what I'll stand for.
But in both scenes he was yelling a lot, and it was like, why are you yelling? That was my big criticism. Stop the yelling.
It didn't bother me.
Yeah, so that's what I would say about Superman sort of not giving his position.
So Sam says, I can't really think of much to say about Superman 2025 in this email outside of comparisons to Snyder's work. It was fun, bright, and colorful. Sorry, Rebecca. I thought the cast and the performance were uniformly good to great. I liked Corenswet's Superman and Brosnahan's Lois. We didn't really get to see much of Clark at the Daily Planet, but that's okay. At least he wasn't stuck in a bathroom. That's my...
You know what? If they had him do that, then I would be like, okay, there's an homage to All-Star Superman.
Okay, they read that.
I
And
get
they were
it.
like, yeah. If he's in
That's
there
deep
reading his
cut.
Shakespeare, yeah, eating a turkey leg, we would get it here on this podcast. Okay, Sam says, I liked the Justice Gang, and while Hawkgirl may have been underdeveloped, I don't think that mattered. I mean, out of the Justice Gang, Mr. Terrific was the only significant character. In some ways, Guy Gardner only stands out because he has such a distinctive personality. We don't really get to know any more about him than we do Hawkgirl apart from his name.
And I guess I have a question for you, Morgan, with this. For me, with a film, maybe you can get away with this on television, but for me, in a film, everything should matter. Everything should have a reason to be there. There should be weight to everything that happens and appears in the movie. So when you have whole characters where people are like, yeah, we didn't really get to them. We didn't really do anything with them, but I guess it was fine. For me, it's like, why is that character there if they don't matter, if they don't play a part in it, if you could take that character out of the movie and it wouldn't matter, like if they have no reason to be there, for me, it's like, why put them in there? For me, I think in television you can kind of get away with that because then you can introduce them maybe in the next episode and do something with them.
Well, here's the thing is that a lot of these movies now are sort of written in more of a television way. Like, at least that's, how a lot of the MCU sometimes is. So they'll introduce a character and then maybe that character gets a movie or that character pops up in another movie or a TV show. So I've gotten kind of used to this style of filmmaking where they're introducing characters in essence to tell you, okay, this character exists in this universe and you'll see them again. And then when they pop up in the next thing, you're like, oh, I remember that person from that thing. I feel like even Batman v Superman kind of did that with like Wonder Woman. I could be wrong. Wonder Woman and like the little thing for the Flash, like because they're trying to sort of create a comic-like shared universe where these characters all exist at the same time. And so sometimes, you do get the character in one of these movies who I would argue that Hawkgirl isn't like a total pullout. Like she does
she plays, I would say that Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific have reasons to be there. Yeah. I think the Daily Planet characters maybe could have removed and you would have been fine.
A couple of the Daily Planet characters are just kind of there. But I do think that maybe they didn't have a ton of like character development, but I do think that they played a part in the movies such that if you removed them, like there would be downstream repercussions to how the film shakes out. So I do think but again, this is sort of the interconnected movie universe where it's like, your one movie has to set up your next movie, or at least get people excited for the next movie, and these characters are going to show up in this TV show. So if you watch the movie, now with these characters when they show up. And I do kind of appreciate that James Gunn, at least when one of the interviews I read, said like he wants some of these movies to be kind of standalone. Like if you go into, it sounds like if you go into Supergirl and you haven't seen Superman, you're going to be fine. And I like that because I would argue that the MCU has become too enmeshed in like, if you miss a movie, it does kind of feel like you missed some important plot points for the next movie. At one point in the MCU, it felt like that. And it's like, I don't know if I necessarily need to see like the Doctor Strange movies. You know what I mean? Like I can miss the Doctor Strange one. Sorry, Doctor Strange. I don't care for you either. I'm coming in hot. But like, and I think that even the MCU has kind of, taken some steps, some tiny steps back from that. Like the Fantastic Four movie kind of stood on its own and was its own thing. And I feel like people at a certain point, it feels like you have to do homework to go see some of these movies. And that's, I think, the point we've hit now with these comic book movies, where people are like, I don't know, I didn't see the last 25 and I didn't watch the TV show. Can I really even jump into Fantastic Four? And it's like, my God, listen to yourselves. Like, what have we become? So that would be my thing about this. This is kind of how the comic book movies, taking the MCU playbook. It's like kind of how they work. But I do think that even the MCU is starting to step back from that a little bit and like let these movies at least somewhat stand on their own, or like have their own room to breathe. And like, it's about time, because like watching a movie that has like a house style is like, I think people have started to get tired of that.
Yeah, I don't love movies that are made to be like TV shows. I miss the day when you had a film and it had a beginning, middle, and an end, and that was it. That's why I like Man of Steel so much, is because it truly is a standalone Superman movie. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to come back for a sequel to find out what. Like, it is just a movie, beginning, middle, and end. And I will say, that was one of the things about Batman v Superman that, like, if I could have like made a note, I'd be like, you don't have to tease the nightmare. I see what you're doing.
I was about to say, the part in that movie where it's like there are more movies coming.
Yeah.
That would also be the part I'd be like, maybe we.
I see why they did it, and they did it expertly. I think the nightmare sequence is amazing, but you don't have to put it in there. But that's one of the reasons I didn't like the MCU. I remember going to see, I think it was Age of Ultron, and it like started and I was like, what is happening? I don't know. And then somebody told me later, like, yeah, you had to watch the TV show. And I was like, why? This is a movie.
If you were watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it got to the mid-season reveal, like, oh my God, listen to yourself.
So I would love it if
I
would love it if movies went to being back to beginning, middle, and end. I would even love it if they stopped doing post-credit scenes. I would just take them out. It's a film. You don't need a post-credit scene.
I do like the little post-credits, but I'm actually kind of relaxed every time that the post-credits are not trying to set up some like future movie, when it's just like a silly thing where like,
but it's like, why is it there? Why? It has no meaning.
I think that it's just like a little bit of fun for the true believers who wanted to sit through the credits and watch all the names. And then the rest of us who, or anybody else who wants to just go home, go to the bathroom, they didn't miss much. They didn't miss anything.
I guess that's true. It is a nice way to have people
it's like an enticement
for you to read the credits. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Unfortunately, the MCU started going crazy with them, where it's like, oh my God, if you miss the end credits, like, you're not going to understand the next phase of the cinematic universe. It's like, all right, well then you should have put that in the main movie.
Yeah, that should have been like the ending scene. What are you doing here?
Yeah, like let's calm down on that. Like, oh no, I had to go to the bathroom at the end and I missed the setup for the next movie. Get out of here.
Yeah. So I guess for me, I just would want movies to matter. I want things in the characters to have weight, to have a reason to exist within the movie, and not be so concerned about building the universe. Like, you can build the universe in another film, it's fine. I just would that's why I've been enjoying these Wes Anderson movies. They're just a beginning, middle, and an end. They have characters, they all have a reason to be there. The story, everything, there's a reason why everything happens in those movies. And it's nice. It's really
I think
enjoyable.
This is one of the reasons why I enjoy like the like character standalone books like in comics more than I do like when they're like, oh, you gotta, see this crossover event. I'm always just like, a small part of me goes, no, I don't care about those other people. I just care about Supergirl. So it's kind of the movie equivalent of that. It's like, why don't we just like let this story be about what the movie is about, and then we'll just like worry about the next movie when the next movie comes out.
In the next movie.
Yeah, it's like, don't give me my homework at the end. So Sam said, there were 3 things in the movie that didn't sit too well with me. The first was that we never got to see Ultraman's personality. Once he was unmasked, he never spoke. I would have liked it if he had been an actual character.
Well, in my thinking that they threw him in that black hole, my theory was he's gonna go through the black hole to Earth 3, and then he's gonna become the actual Ultraman, who's like the evil Superman. And then maybe he'll like come back and have a personality with that. But it's one of those things where I think you could have utilized Ultraman in a way to compare him to Superman and had a really introspective, because the whole Superman 2025 movie was about this message where Jor-El and Lara said, we want you to take over the world and have a harem and kill people who disagree with you. You could have had Ultraman be that reflection to Clark and have what he could have been if he chose to go with Jor-El and Lara's message. And so I think for me, Ultraman in that way is a missed opportunity.
I could see that. Yeah. I feel like there were a lot of characters in this one and already. So I can see why, there wasn't a ton of Ultraman, but I do feel like that's a pretty valid critique. There wasn't really a lot of character with Ultraman. So Sam says the second was the reveal about Jor-El and Lara. I didn't like it. In a number of past iterations of their characters, they have almost been depicted as sacred deities, wise and all-knowing, bestowing their great wisdom and guidance on Kal-El. I can actually get on board with the idea that they are too good to be true and that Clark had an idealized version of them in his head that didn't match the reality. Harry Potter played with this idea with him finding out his parents who died when he was a baby weren't the perfect people he imagined. I don't mind the idea of Jor-El and Lara not being as perfect or noble as they have often been depicted. But what bothers me about James Gunn's take is so extreme that Clark closes his heart to them and only has room in his heart for the Kents. I prefer the incarnations where both sets of parents matter to him. It shouldn't have to be one or the other.
I think that's a fair critique as well, because the thing about Superman and Supergirl, they have 2 different aspects of them. They have the alien side and they have the earthly side. And so if they were in a perfect world, in a perfect story, both of those sides would hold some weight to him, because you can't just totally throw away the Kryptonian side. So I can see why that, like, I don't have a problem with, I think we talked about this at great length, that I don't have necessarily a problem with Jor-El and Lara being kind of like, ooh, but,
oh God.
but I can see the argument for needing the 2 halves of Superman to somehow come together in some kind of way so that Superman can embrace both sides of his personhood. I don't know what other way to say that, his identity.
I will say, I think that could be an interesting contrast with Supergirl. That having a Superman who's like all in on like, I'm a human, like these are my parents, like this is what is important to me, and having a Supergirl who is more torn because she remembers Krypton and she remembers like her homeworld, and her being really the character that feels like a person of 2 different worlds. I think that could be a nice juxtaposition between the two characters.
And
So
maybe the next Superman family movie will explore that.
Yes, that's what it could get into. Now that we know that there's going to be some sort of
that's how
Superman
they get me back there.
So Sam says my final problem was with Hawkgirl killing the president of was it Boravia?
Boravia.
Yes.
Boravia is an actual fictional location in DC Comics. So it's
yeah.
We talk
I saw
about
that.
deep
That's
cuts.
cool.
That's a pretty good deep cut.
I'd actually been spoiled about that, but it wasn't how I imagined it. In my mind, her killing the president happened after they saved the civilians in Jarhanpur from the Boravian invasion. The killing would have been to prevent the Boravian president from ordering another invasion, as well as a healthy dose of vengeance slash punishment. The way it played out, I felt like it had no immediate impact on the conflict and meant there was one less hero in the conflict zone helping to save lives. The conflict ended because Guy Gardner and his associates took out the invading force, and Hawkgirl's summary execution of the Boravian president seemed to have little to no bearing on the outcome.
You would think that the death of this Boravian president would have had at least cover the nightly news. Like it would have made
busy. They were busy. There's other stuff.
Headline of some kind of website, I'm sure.
Other stuff going on.
It seems like it would have been a pretty important thing.
I saw it as mostly like the idea that like she was kind of like going to end the threat, which is that like if he was around, perhaps they would try to invade again, and maybe perhaps without him they wouldn't. Although I think that's hoping for a lot. I feel like there's probably a lot of bad people in that administration. They're just gonna do it. They might try to do it again.
And there are evil people all the time. So
yeah, there's even evil people all over.
Even if you kill the president of Boravia, that doesn't mean there's not another evil political figure that's going to pop up somewhere.
Well, she could fly them all out.
Yeah, she could. Hawkgirl's just going to kill all the political leaders she disagrees with.
Here we go. She's gonna make them a coffee first, and just really get her barista roots down.
Well, talking about Superman like not arguing his position before people, it's like I don't know. I feel like Hawkgirl should answer to like. She's killed a world leader. I feel like maybe somebody should ask her questions.
I like the idea
bare minimum
that like he's thought really deeply about like doing this, and he's just like, I think I'm doing what's right, and she's just like, sure, why not? Defenestrates somebody out a window. Love you, Hawkgirl. What a legend. So Sam goes on to say, I read an interview with James Gunn months ago where he said that in his version of the DC universe, metahuman is a catch-all term for people with extraordinary power. Whatever the nature or reason for that power is, they could be an alien, a mutant, a god, an Atlantean, or Amazon, someone bitten by a radioactive spider, or just someone in a high-tech suit of armor or wearing a magic ring that can make anything they imagine. I know that's not how the word is used in the comics, but it's not unusual for movie and TV adaptations to take things from the comics and put a different spin on them. James Gunn wanted the simplicity of a single word to describe people with extraordinary powers and cherry-picked the word metahumans from the comics. Sam says, it's actually not that strange to me that he wanted to do that. More than once, I've listened to a podcast about a superhero movie or show by people who don't read comics and aren't well-versed in the subject and heard them call supervillains superheroes because they are talking about people with powers and don't know any other word for it than superhero. When I think about it, I don't think we hear the word supervillain as often as we hear the word superhero in discussions of modern superhero movies. Sam goes on to say, Rebecca, I know you said the way metahumans was used in the movie was confusing, but I think it's mostly because you know the word from other DC properties, whereas for most of the audience, this would be their first time hearing it, and they would just take it at face value.
I totally understand the argument for it, but words should have meaning. That's my argument, is that words should have a reason to mean something, and when you use a word in a way that the word is not meant to be used for, it loses all meaning, and nothing makes any sense.
I think it also confused me because within the movie they do talk about mention metahumans, but they also very explicitly call Clark an alien. So it's like,
You could just call him an alien.
You could just call him in. We don't even need to get into the whole metahuman thing.
You could just specify what people
feels like
are.
It's more confusing, honestly. It's like, what? Wait, how are we using metahuman now? This is confusing to me. But
most of the people who are there's a lot of general public people. Like
we got a lot of normies in this movie.
A lot of normies will see this movie, but a lot of people who will go see this movie are DC nerds. Or people who get together once a week and talk about DC stuff.
I don't know who those people
are going to go see this movie. And so then when you use it in a way that people are not...
You're like, wait, what?
Like, I was sitting there the whole time, literally, I was like, literally none of these people are metahumans. What are they talking about? And it took me out of the movie for a good little bit.
I was like, excuse me, Kendra's not a metahuman.
I was like, thinking in my head, like, are they metahumans? Like maybe I'm misunderstanding it this whole time.
Yeah, I think maybe the key would have been to come up with a different word than metahuman that
could just call them superpowered people.
Yeah, there you go.
I know that's a lot of syllables, but
yeah.
Use words that make
sense.
They
could have called them like the supers. They could be like, oh, the supers are here or whatever. Yeah. Like I think using an existing word in the DC universe that has a meaning that we know is just confusing to me personally.
It's like, just confusing to me personally.
Don't do it to me though.
Make words have meaning.
Yeah. Sam says, next up is the topic of Jimmy and his source, mutant toes. I thought it was mildly clever for James Gunn to make Jimmy a chick magnet in his movie because I see it as being a reference to how many out of his league girlfriends / love interest the character has had over the years. Supergirl and Lucy Lane perhaps being the most significant. I think James Gunn took the idea and ran with it for humor. You get the idea that Jimmy doesn't even know what all these women see in him. He often seems bemused by the attention. Something I read about mutant toes on Jimmy's phone was that it was a bit of an in-joke Easter egg. Apparently, the model / actress who played Eve Tessmacher has been using that nickname for her toes with her family and friends since she was quite young as a way to make light of the fact that her toes were funny looking. I've never done it, but it doesn't really bother me if someone uses a derogatory name for someone they don't like in their phone contacts listing. I'm not going to think they are a terrible person for it. It seems pretty clear that Jimmy doesn't really like Eve. I just hope that her mutant toes weren't the reason why. It would just make him too shallow for my liking.
I don't know. Like if I'm putting someone in my phone with a derogatory name, like if I put under Morgan's name like stupid face.
I know.
That's a mean
Can't
thing.
Say Carmina Burana.
That's a mean thing to do.
Yes.
Especially if it's like an inside secret joke where that other person doesn't know you're doing it.
Yeah, it's fully just like a mean thing. Like you get the impression that he and her had some form of relationship, whether it was like casual dating or like a casual fling. And so I do feel like if you're going to have a casual fling with somebody, you should respect them enough to put their actual name in your actual phone.
Yeah, it did. Like I could get on board with Jimmy being like this chick magnet.
Ladies man Jimmy Olsen is very funny actually, and I don't hate that.
It's been done before, so I don't have a problem with it. But
he's a grown man.
But he's a grown man. But I do think that made him a little shallow.
I think it made him I got where they're going with the joke, but I think the joke was a little too mean, honestly, in terms of like how he was treating her. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was just like on a line for me where I was like, oh.
Especially when you realize like it's revealed towards the end that like she's been abused by Lex. Like he's physically abusing her. So for then Jimmy to have been making fun of her, and Eve actually helped them, like save the day.
Eve was clutch.
So it makes him shallow for almost or I guess superficial too, but like it just makes him mean for kind of no reason.
Yeah, I think they were riding a line of making him like a little too mean, honestly. Yeah. So I was like, I would have pulled it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Sam said, more than a few podcasts and reviews I've watched and listened to have compared Superman 2025 to a Saturday morning cartoon. For some people, this was a positive, nostalgic feelings from childhood, and for others, it was a negative. They wanted a more grounded, realistic approach. I think Rebecca said something along the lines of not being able to get emotionally invested in the drama or stakes because everything was too cartoonish, which is interesting to me because some of my favorite DC content is animated / cartoonish. I feel the Tim's verse comprised of Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited were top tier as far as storytelling goes.
And I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah, my memories of those are all very positive. There was almost no death in those shows, but they still managed to have dramatic weight. The death of the street vendor from Gunshot in Superman 2025 actually reminded me of a scene from Superman the Animated Series. It was a two-parter where Darkseid invaded Earth. One of the things that stood out was that for all the shooting and chaos of the invasion, we never saw anyone get killed. We would see tanks get flipped over and soldiers crawl out of them before they blow up. It was only at the very end when Darkseid was forced to retreat that he turned around and killed one human, Dan Turpin, as a parting shot. There was an entire invasion of Earth and only one human died. Dan Turpin's death was symbolic, as a way to show that there was a price for the invasion. For a kid's cartoon, they couldn't show a realistic amount of deaths, so they used one death to stand in for all the deaths that would have really happened. The death of the street vendor in Superman feels somewhat the same to me. I can't remember anyone else dying in the movie except for the Moravian president.
But so you never see him die. You don't see him hit the ground. It's turned into a joke where Steve Lombard's like dropping something into his drink. So I would say that that's still pretty cartoonish in the way that they're trying not to show the audience the death.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily need to see somebody like hit the pavement. So I was okay with that. But yeah, they do cut around that.
The one thing. Oh, sorry. Are you finishing?
I was just going to get to the end of the paragraph.
Yeah.
Sam says the death of the street vendor feels somewhat the same. Okay. Blah blah blah. I can't remember anyone else dying in the movie except for the Moravian president. So that was the one death to stand in for all the potential loss of innocent life that would have realistically happened. Sam says, for myself, at least, I don't always need something to be completely grounded and realistic to be invested in the drama and stakes.
Well, I am very familiar with the Dan Turpin death at the end of Superman the Animated Series. And what I will say to that is, when does that death happen? That's in the it's either in the very last episode or the last 2 episodes of Superman the Animated Series. I want to say it's in the very last episode of that show. So they waited until the very last episode where they could get away with it to show a death. And
that's so funny. I have a fun fact in the chat from Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap says, fun fact, originally Darkseid was supposed to kill the Kents, but DC said that if they killed the Kents, they had to bring them back. So they killed Dan Turpin.
Yeah. So I will say and that is the reason why I compared it to a Saturday morning cartoon, is that I felt, and I don't need there to be like gruesome deaths or anything, but I do need to feel like things matter, and that if you're gonna go as far as to say like superheroes are killing people and they're killing world leaders, and I'm supposed to buy into the fact that this is a big deal, that this random guy that I met 15 scenes before like is dying, and this is a big deal. I feel like it should. I want movies to have weight to them. They don't have to be like these super gritty, grounded, realistic things, but I do need something to matter, like for me to, if I want to get invested in a movie, I feel like something should matter. And I just kind of didn't feel like that. But with Dan Turpin in his death on Superman the Animated Series, I had gotten to know Dan Turpin. And so when he dies, it does matter. So I do think it's funny that they waited until like the very last episode of the show.
They're like, we can do it. We can kill somebody.
What are they going to do? Fire us? And so they do kill him at the end in a pretty gruesome way, like Darkseid, like Omega beams, I think him.
Oh no.
That's so yeah, that you could compare it to that, but but see, it goes back to that genre thing. Where you try to take, or at least I try to take movies for what they are. James Gunn, I don't think was trying to make like a super serious movie. I think he was trying to make a superhero comedy for mostly children to go to. And so that's in my opinion anyway. Although they cussed and said harem a lot. So maybe he wasn't exclusively making it for children. But I think that for what he was going for, I guess that kind of treatment of the violence is it makes sense for that. I just personally need things to matter.
Yeah, I think that the death of the street vendor hit me a little bit harder because we had seen him, and it was kind of like a stand-in for, like, we see a lot of this destruction in these big superhero movies, and we just like, you're like watching it going like, oh, a lot of people died there. But I think it was like, it brought it very personal. It's like this guy that we saw earlier in the movie who tried to help Superman out, and then the reaction that like Metamorpho has to the death also, I think, really brings home like how horrible it is that he would have just killed this like innocent guy. So I can see from a storytelling perspective why the choice was like, okay, we're just gonna focus on how terrible it is that this one guy died versus like, a wide scale destruction.
But it should be mentioned that Superman let him die, because Superman could have told Lex his secret identity and saved that man's life. So Superman essentially lets him die, but I guess that's a conversation for another time. In the chat, Patrick asks, have you seen the Superman animated movies? We've talked about a few of them. We went into great lengths with the Tomorrowverse, so
we saw all those.
We watched everything. So if you're interested in that, we have episodes on every movie in the Tomorrowverse. I'm trying to think if there are other.
You went on a real journey with those ones.
Yes, I'm sure that we've talked about. I think we also have an episode on Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. So generally, we don't talk specifically Superman stories. They have to involve Supergirl in some capacity. But we have talked about quite a bit of Superman animated movies. So check those episodes out if you would like.
Back to Sam's email. Sam says, a few days before Superman premiered, James Gunn got in trouble for getting political by calling Superman an immigrant. Firstly, he didn't call him an illegal immigrant, even though I think he is in most versions, since the Kents perpetuate identity fraud to hide his true origin.
It's true.
He does. They do that. And secondly, Superman has been described as an immigrant for decades in various media. One of the most farcical rebuttals I've come across is that Superman is not an immigrant, but a refugee.
So there's an episode, actually, Sam, that we did specifically about this topic. And we had two lawyers on who we called the Supergirl Radio legal consultants. And they actually, if I remember correctly, they determined, given the legal terms, that Supergirl would actually be an immigrant. So the Supergirl TV show kept referring to her as a refugee. And the legal consultants did say that they thought, given the legal parameters of those terms, because they are different terms. And so we have a whole episode just dedicated to that debate.
We did a deep dive. We are insane.
So definitely go check that out. Did I list that down in my notes about which one?
I think you did.
It's from July 2019, and it's called Refugee Status is the title for that episode. So we go into pretty good length about that discussion. So if you're interested in that topic, I think we did solve it. Is that I think Supergirl is actually an immigrant.
Sam says, to be fair, there is a bit of wiggle room in definitions, especially if you get into legal speak. But loosely speaking, a refugee is a type of immigrant. You could say all refugees are immigrants, but not all immigrants are refugees. In fact, most immigrants probably aren't refugees. I find this debate amusing because I remember during season 3 or 4 of Supergirl, there was a whole alien refugee storyline for which you guys did a special podcast.
Okay, so Sam has listened to the episode. Okay, good.
With a couple of lawyers as guests. According to my recollection of what your guest said, under international law, Supergirl was not a refugee. This was because the refugee laws enshrined in the Geneva Convention did not cover people fleeing natural disasters, but only political persecution. According to the standard, just as Supergirl couldn't be a refugee, Neither could Superman. I don't want you guys to get in trouble by making things political, but I am curious what you think. Are Superman and Supergirl immigrants, illegal immigrants, or refugees? What criteria would you use to assess this?
I'm going to go with the legal consultants and what they determined. But I also don't, I was kind of surprised when the political kerfluffle came up about it, because I was like, this has been a known thing. Why are
This is
people
sort
like
of
surprised?
been in every version of the character.
Why is this like controversial?
Yeah, calling
talk
him an
about it in this
immigrant isn't crazy because it's exactly what he is. He's
And-
not from here.
Yeah, it's it was baffling to me that people got up in arms about that. So that's all I'll say about that, is that there's no like controversy about even talking about it.
I agree too, and especially because I feel like a lot of different episodes of like different Superman media have like specifically immigration episodes where they tied to the fact that like Superman is an immigrant. So like the idea that this is like some new talking point, when like I can remember the Smallville episode about this, like that's how old I am.
Yeah, there and I do think Sam is right that sometimes there may be, because I want to say that they use Lionel Luthor to kind of cover up some things with Clark.
Famous,
if I remember,
citizen.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I want to say Lionel Luthor helped them kind of figure that.
That feels right. That feels right. Martha was probably like, please.
So I think there's more to say about the Kents faking documents than there is about whether or not Superman is an immigrant. So that's more interesting.
Yeah,
to
like
me.
how is this a controversy? He's clearly been an immigrant the whole time.
He's an alien. He is not from here.
Not from Earth.
So I think it's kind of, I thought it was kind of a stupid thing, because it's just been a thing that's been known.
And then Sam finishes by saying, Rebecca, I think it's unfortunate that you never want to watch Superman 2025 again, because I would have been interested in listening to you break it down in more detail in a future podcast with someone like Michael Bailey, as you have in the past with other movies.
I love Michael.
I feel like we broke it down pretty well, Sam.
That's what I was going to say, is even though I love Michael Bailey, check out the Fortress of Bailey 2, check out Superman homepage, all of his stuff. He's a Superman expert, and he knows anytime I have a question about Superman, I go to him. But the most I could offer in analysis about this movie is that episode, that 3-hour episode that Morgan and I
did talk about it for quite a while.
So I don't think, even if I did do something with Michael, that there would be anything I could add that I have not already said.
That's probably not true. I'm sure Michael would come up with like some.
Michael would have things he would share from his perspective, but from my perspective, I don't think much would change.
And that was Sam's email. Thank you so much, Sam. That was such a good email, and so long. I feel like people don't send us in long emails anymore, and I kind of miss them.
And thank you, Morgan, for reading it. Morgan is much better at reading things than me. So the next email we have comes from Mark. So he wrote in to say, quote, although my local theater is part of a small chain that typically doesn't get fancy merch, as it turned out, I drove to a Regal for the Amazon Prime preview of Superman, and I got the Crypto Super Bowl.
The Crypto Bowl.
So this is what it looks like.
It's so massive. Like you can't get this. When I saw this come up as like one of the options, I said, 110%, I'm going to buy this. It's going to be so cute. I can't wait. And then when I saw it in person, like, the scale of this thing is insane. It's so big. Like the crypto on it is so huge. The popcorn bucket is very big. And I was like, I have no place for this.
Now, maybe this is an email response from Mark, now that he has this thing. Is it difficult? Like if you put popcorn in the popcorn bowl, do you have to like go around?
Does crypto ever
get in the way?
Fall in?
Yeah.
Like, you know those little birds that they put on people's desks sometimes that like fall into the water? Does crypto ever do that in your popcorn?
Is it hard to eat the popcorn with crypto sitting on the bowl?
We have questions. Like should I be regretting that I didn't buy this thing? Is basically what I'm asking.
Let us know how functional this popcorn bowl is for you. Is it just a decorative piece, or have you used it for its purpose? That's what we want to know. But it is cute. So there is crypto, but I also saw a crypto like Puppy Bowl popcorn.
That
bowl.
one was really cute. I don't think that was a Regal one because I looked around in my movie theater.
I would have bought that one.
And
I
all
thought
I
that was a
saw-
fun idea.
That one was really fun. All I saw was the crypto one, which was really cute. But again, I thought it was too big and like impractical. And then there was one where it was like Superman. I think I described this on the last podcast, but it was like Superman using his heat ray vision into like the popcorn. It was like a square thing.
You really
and
had to think. This was a thinker.
And like,
you
yeah, it was
really-
a thinker. And like the popcorn was in there and Superman was on the outside using his heat ray vision. And you're like, I guess he's popping it or is he attacking it? Like it made me feel like it was too aggressive for me.
It
Like,
does sound aggressive.
it's like, is Superman mad at my popcorn?
Yeah, is he
or
jealous?
Is Superman
Yeah.
making my popcorn? Like, I don't want to have to ask that every time I want to have popcorn.
Mark is in the chat and
Oh.
says, I have not used it yet, but now you've challenged me. Yes, Mark, you have to test
Report
it out.
back. You are our man on the street.
You have to let us know how the popcorn situation
How
works.
functional is the popcorn bucket?
Because usually those popcorn buckets, I think we've talked about this. We talk more about popcorn buckets on this podcast than probably anybody talks
I'm
about.
loving these popcorn buckets. They're insane. And also the funny thing is that at my Regal, after the movies go out of after the movies are released, they must have like leftover popcorn buckets.
Oh, they have to.
So now they have a table that's like discount popcorn buckets. And you can just like look at all the popcorn buckets that nobody wanted. It's like the island of misfit toys, but for popcorn buckets.
I'm pitch. This is a pitch. A Pixar animated movie about popcorn buckets that have been left behind.
Yes, this is going to be the plot of like Toy Story 5, and it's just going to be the popcorn bucket edition. It's going to be like, why didn't you like me? The Snow White popcorn bucket shaped like an apple. It's like, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Someone make that movie. I would watch it.
I just want to point out that the Mufasa popcorn bucket is somehow still at my Regal. And every time I pass it, I sing out that clip of like where they rhyme brother with brother in that movie. It's like, don't mess with my brother. He is my brother. And like I love it when you do that bit.
Okay, so Mark continues to say, as for the movie, I really enjoyed it. I thought the actors were so great. The crypto get the toy moment at the end was terrific. And I appreciated that, unlike, say, Peacemaker, the show, I didn't feel like I was trapped with some guy who's determined to show you how cool his record collection is. I have not watched Peacemaker,
really good description.
Mark goes on to say, but importantly, my thoughts on Supergirl. I think the make a point of her being 21 in Woman of Tomorrow might have been a bit of self-censorship on DC's part, and then being unwilling to show her as an underage drinker in comics. But as for her moment with Superman, I think he's not really seeing her. He thinks she's just going off and partying like many other young people. And maybe because he doesn't share her trauma, he doesn't realize that she's actually looking for some kind of solace or meaning or oblivion at the bottom of a glass. It could well be, and this would be entirely in character for Kara, that she got to Earth, saw what her cousin meant to the world as Superman, and decided that she couldn't burden him with her problems while he's got a world to save. So she bottled them up and is self-medicating in an unhealthy way. We also don't know that I'm such a terrible reader. We also don't know what, if anything, she knew about the whole super harem scheme and what her role may have been in it. Were her final instructions from her parents telling her to spend all her time here being pregnant? And then she got here and realized that 1, that ain't right. And 2, her cousin didn't get the memo. My hunch, and I think at this point, my hope is that the Supergirl movie will have at its core Kara's recovery from her trauma alongside her saving Ruthie from becoming a murderer. We certainly don't need the third film that Gunn is working on to feature Steve Lombard becoming Kara's AA sponsor, but I think we're going to need to see, plainly, Kara rediscovering her own self-worth and her place alongside her cousin and the rest of Earth's heroes, unquote. So, Morgan, do you have any thoughts about Mark's thoughts on Supergirl?
Yeah, I think that I can definitely see that as being the case, that maybe Superman doesn't really see how much she's struggling. I saw that relationship as more like that like, one family member you have that's like a little bit off the rails where you're like, oh boy, I hope they get it together. Like I'm a little worried about them. But I think that it seemed to me that like they have a good enough relationship that he would like, for instance, watch her dog, who is a nightmare, for some amount of time, maybe like a week, maybe like a little bit over. So clearly they have this sort of relationship where she could be like, hey, I want to go hang out and party. Could you watch Crypto? And he's like, yeah. And then Crypto tries to kill his family's cows. So I do feel like they have like, there is some established relationship between the two of them. And I can also buy that like maybe he thinks that she's just going off and having a fun time and like doing young people stuff, and really she's like struggling with things, and that's why she's acting out.
Yeah, I do think they have to, and this is something I really don't want to put on the Supergirl movie, because it really shouldn't be a part of the Supergirl movie in my opinion, but they almost have to. I guess this is a question of whether or not the Supergirl is going to be totally self-contained, or if they're going to try to connect it to the Superman movie. Is like, do they have to reconcile this video from Krypton with Supergirl's parents now? So I don't know if they'd like totally ignore that, or what. Does Zor-El in the Supergirl movie be like, yeah, my brother is the worst.
I feel like you could write it just that easily of just having, her dad be like, oh, your uncle is just being the worst again. And then like, you kind of get the impression, okay, so
like
it's
they
not,
disagree.
Yeah, it's not like, and I think that that's probably how they'll do it, where it's like, it's not that it's a Kryptonian belief necessarily, although a lot of the Kryptonians do kind of have a, might makes right perspective on things a lot of the time, and that's sort of in line with like what the message was saying, like, oh, you're going to be so much better than them, like, it should be your job to take over and like, show them the way, and basically if they don't listen to you, make sure that they do. And I can see maybe them doing that flip where, a lot of times Kara's dad is not so great, and maybe in this version, to kind of bring home how much harder it would have been for her to lose everything, maybe in this version her dad is like a nice guy, and it's Jor-El that's the jerk. I feel like you can make that switch pretty easily.
Yeah.
And that it kind of explains it. Yeah, I also hope they don't spend too much time getting tripped up on like the Kryptonian stuff, but I do think that her memories of Krypton are such a big part in the comic that there's definitely going to be more Krypton in Woman of Tomorrow, I would assume.
Yeah, there's a lot of going through Kara's origin in the comic, and I assume they'll put that in the movie, because to me, if they don't, it kind of takes away from Kara's character. So I don't know if they have to reconcile what the S stands for now in that. So I hope that they don't spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah, I think we'll find out more about the culture of Krypton and that kind of stuff through Supergirl, actually, because I assume that they'll do the flashbacks a lot like the comic did the flashbacks. So I think we will see a lot more Krypton in Supergirl than we did, just seeing the parent hologram in Superman, right. Which makes sense. Supergirl is a character who remembers Krypton.
Yeah.
And that's always been one of her biggest differentiators versus Superman.
I really wish that they had included, and obviously they didn't have to, but it would have been nice to have Kara's reaction to that Jor-El Lara message.
I know.
Be like, what the heck is this?
I just wish that Kara was in most of the movie, but
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it would have improved it.
Yeah. So Kenny wrote in to say, wow, I loved this movie. Going into it, I just did not know what to expect. Would I love this film? Not sure. I liked Superman Returns and parts of Man of Steel, but I was missing my friend Superman and Clark Kent, the heart, the hope, and the humanity. David Corenswet was so great in the role. He's my third favorite Superman and Clark Kent ever.
I'm curious who's number 1.
Yeah,
and
who's
number
number 1 and number 2? Write in, Kenny, and let us know.
we need the full ranking.
Now we're questioning. We're questioning everything. Kenny says
very specific. My
this is
third
very
favorite.
third favorite. Okay. Well, now you've opened up some questions that we have. Kenny says the whole cast was amazing, and of course, including Millie Alcock as Supergirl. During this movie, I cried and laughed. It had a good mix of laughter, of lighter and darker moments. The best way I can describe this movie is that it felt like a DC, it felt like a Superman DCAU animated series episode with a touch of the Arrowverse being, while being its own thing. Each version of Superman and Supergirl are special for each generation, and Superman 2025 was just that and so much more. James Gunn understood the assignment, and I can't wait to see what happens next in the DCU, including Supergirl 2026. He said, I give Supergirl 2025 10 cryptos out of 10 and can't wait for it to come out on a 4K UHD Blu-ray disc later this year. I mean, I feel like it's probably already out based on how short like release windows are anymore.
These emails coming in are such a good reason to have a distinct title. I think everybody must be tired
Superman
of
2025.
We have to distinguish.
I can't wait for Supergirl 2026.
It's probably annoying for everyone to have to write that out. Morgan,
that's why I've been laughing every time I have to read 2025.
But I'm glad that everybody is specifying so that we can
you
understand.
You gotta know. Sam was very right about that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Morgan, if you had to give Superman 2025 out of 10 cryptos.
Out of 10 cryptos, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I would give it 9 cryptos. I would give it.
Okay. Well,
listen,
that's
room
high
for
praise.
improvement as most like most things have. I don't want to I don't want them like have them resting on their laurels.
Mm-hmm.
But I did really enjoy it. So yeah, I would give it a strong 9 cryptos.
I would give it maybe a 4. my first instinct.
Colonel. Okay, your first instinct's how your heart feels about it.
That's me not really thinking about all of the critiques.
That's how many cryptos your heart tells you it deserves.
That's an arbitrary scale. Everybody can have their own crypto scale. Kenny is in the chat, so we've got clarification on the ranking.
Okay.
So his top 5. Number 1, Christopher Reeve. Number 2, Tyler Hoechlin. Number 3, David Corenswet. Number 4, Tom Welling. And number 5, George Reeves. That's a solid list, Kenny.
We've had a lot of very talented people play Superman. I think what a time.
Yeah, I can't complain about most Supermen. The Superboy TV show was rough, I will say.
I never watched that, but
it's a little rough around the edges. But I also haven't watched the entirety of Superboy. I've just seen like episodes here and there. So I can't talk, but Superboy is definitely a different character than Superman. I mean, he's the same guy. It's still Clark Kent. He's just like in a different time in his superhero journey. But I can't say, I mean, all the Supermen are different, but they were all played, I think, by good actors and who tried to put their own spin on it. So I think that's a solid list, Kenny. Thank you for clarifying, so we didn't have to wonder.
I didn't realize. I was just thinking about the fact that there's been so many of them. Like there's Henry Cavill, is also not on this list. Dean Cain from Lois and Clark is not on this list.
Kirk Allen, who was the first live action Superman.
Yeah, wow. We've had almost Brandon Routh. We've had almost 10 Superman live action actors play Super. That's crazy. I didn't realize it had been that many. I don't think.
I think we've been blessed with good choices for Superman. Even if their stories are maybe not as like up to par in some instances, I think the actors have all done the part that they were supposed to play.
I agree. I think we have.
And that's Kenny's email. So we've gotten our crypto
the crypto scale.
Choices. Yes, we got the crypto scale. David wrote us an email to say, quote, just had a thought about the laughs in Marvel and the Gunverse after serious moments. Most of us grew up watching sitcoms where serious moments in shows were generally followed by a quick joke to reset the show. Friends is the best example of this because Joey and Chandler do that the most. Because we have watched sitcoms and they were hugely popular for Gen X or Xennials, I guess the mid between Gen X and Millennials, which I think maybe I qualify into that. I think that's I'm kind of like at that edge. And Millennials were more likely to try to lighten the mood after something heavy with a joke. Not all are that way, but a lot of us are conditioned that way. Don't know if you and Morgan want to explore that or not, but that is my thought as to why we're seeing more superhero movies do that now, unquote.
I think that's interesting. I think also I think I did have a quick question. What is a zillennial?
I think it's like so like people like me in the year that I was born. I'm very old. I think I am on like borderline between Gen X and millennials. So I think that's what that means is like those people kind of in that like right in between the two.
I saw one time I like looked it up and like it was like elder millennials and I was like, all right,
we're not doing that.
Right, calm down.
we're not putting elder in front of anything.
Calm down. Because the millennial generation, it is pretty big. Like I'm in it and so is Kat, and there's a age gap there. So, but I was wondering what a zillennial, I was like, a zillennial. It sounds like an alien that would be in like Aliens.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming it is. So hopefully we're correct on that. Yeah, this is an interesting comment because when you think about Friends, you have to like the Friends was the example that he used. Friends is a comedy.
Yeah. So
I would expect a comedy to make jokes after a serious moment because of the genre, because it is comedies. If they do nothing else, they have to be funny. Like that is the job of the comedy.
Although I don't know, have you watched The Bear?
No, I have not. Is that a comedy?
It technically is. And I like The Bear, but it's more of a stressful experience to me than a comedy. And it keeps getting this is a tangent, but it keeps getting nominated as a comedy, and it is very clearly just a half an hour drama, and it drives me crazy. But anyway.
Well, it goes into conversations about genre and what they're supposed to do. So I don't know necessarily that Friends is the best example, just because I think the quick jokes to reset the show are like built in. They're like baked into.
They're like the reason for the show.
Yeah. And I don't think superhero movies have always been this way. If you think about the Tim Burton Batman movies, I mean, they have light moments in parts, but they're pretty serious movies. The Nolan Batman movies. I'm trying to think the Spider-Man movies with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. There were
that last one.
there were moments of humor, but they also had very earnest scenes that were serious a lot of the time. So for me, when I think about those kinds of like those jokey superhero movies, I don't think I noticed that until the first Avengers movies, first Avengers movie when Joss Whedon took over, because the movies that were in that phase 1 era, they had jokes and they had lighter moments, but they were used in moments where it made sense to have those moments. And I actually really loved the first phase of the MCU. But once that Joss Whedon movie made $1 billion, they were like, we have to do it this way. This is what the people want. So we've got to do every movie like this.
Style. Yeah.
So that's what I would say is that I don't know that it was something that I personally grew up with, because I grew up with Indiana Jones movies that had moments of lightness, but they were used in moments where it made sense. Those kinds of the 80s were the best decade for movies. And I will argue that with everyone and anyone. You can try to make your case for another decade, but for me, growing up in the 80s, I was used to movies that had lightness in it, but they weren't like quippy jokes after a serious moment. Like they were placed in places where it made sense, with characters where it made sense for those characters to make those jokes. So I don't know necessarily for me that it's something that I grew up and was conditioned to do or conditioned to see. For me, I think I see that delineation with the Joss Whedon first Avengers movie, that is where that trend picked up.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think a lot of movies are kind of both, or have moments of both. So if it's a drama, there usually sometimes there is like a joke or two. There is some levity. If it's a comedy, there is usually dramatic parts of it. So I think it's just mixing it together. And I think this sort of like, heavy moment sort of joke kind of thing is just sort of just sort of the modern way of kind of combining those together for some filmmakers in some instances. But I guess I could kind of see the idea of it being like, a lot of us grew up on those sitcoms where they did do that a lot, and maybe that kind of percolated into how some of these filmmakers who are around our ages maybe are writing
You
the
are
things
much
now.
younger than me, so I don't want you to be put in the same category as this old lady over here. So
I mean, I watched Friends though. I watched that every time. I came home. I was like, yeah, it's Friends time. So I was just as steeped in the Friends culture as anyone else.
yeah, I just think for me, it's unfortunate that with movies that have serious moments and then they have a button at the end of the scene where it's like a joke and then the scene ends. For me, it's like I can't get invested in this emotional moment that you're having because you're not taking it seriously. And I want to be invested in that. I want to feel things because it makes me connected to those characters if I'm feeling something. And so if I could make the movies, if they were up to me, I would take those button jokes out, save the lightness for a place where it makes sense to have it, and let people feel that. I guess that goes back to that sort of Saturday morning cartoon feel of the Superman 2025 movie. For me, is that it almost is afraid for you to feel something. It almost doesn't want you to feel like, I don't want you to feel sad. I don't want you to feel upset that this has happened. And so for me, that's kind of what I see with that, with the way that the humor is used. It's almost like the movie doesn't want you to have to like think about it. It just wants you to move on to the next thing. And so I don't know. For me personally, as a film fan, I watch movies because I want to have those emotional moments with a character. And those are the movies that I like the most, that where I'm like connected to that person. So for me, if I don't have those moments, it's hard for me to connect. But thank you for that email, David. I guess that's a running conversation about humor in these kinds of movies.
And so our last email comes from a listener named Jenny, who writes, I'm going to be honest, I listened to your podcast during the run of the Supergirl TV show, but I haven't listened in a couple of years since I started graduate school. But welcome back, Jenny.
Jenny, you have missed some really quality stuff. We've almost hit our stride after the show ended.
We're just about, I think, getting it together now. So really the best is yet to come, Jenny, I feel.
Yes.
But also, what a back catalog you have now. If you want. No pressure.
But know that we're
trying to win Jenny back.
Jenny, we did a whole series on Supergirl as a soap opera actress.
And you should check that one out, Jenny.
You should watch or listen to those 3 episodes because that was great.
So Jenny says, but this movie brought me back to it, so that's a point in its favor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll take it.
Jenny is just here for Supergirl.
She is just here for Supergirl. So Jenny says the movie wasn't perfect, but it was the first piece of superhero media I've enjoyed in a while. I did leave the theater with a renewed sense of hope. Also, I'm a Southerner, and I thought Ma and Pa Kent were stereotyped too much at first. However, by the end of the movie, I thought they did a great job of making his parents on Earth very normal people, and that they were a representation of ordinary people doing something extraordinary by raising Clark without knowing where he came from.
Well, I appreciate you, Jenny, chiming in on that. And I will say, as a Southerner, my whole life, depending on the 3 different states that I've lived in, it's always been in the Southeast. I always find it funny that I think like movie and TV people, and you probably have the same kind of thing, Morgan, where you're from.
What, in New Jersey? The beautiful Garden State?
Well, the idea that like a region has one accent
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
but if you can't, even in
Hey,
Alabama,
you guys.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure New Jersey has that same kind of thing. But like in Alabama, like you can go to different parts of Alabama just specifically, and you hear different accents. When you go to lower Alabama, like Dothan, you hear Dothan people say things like um home and phone, where they like really elongate that O sound. And so if it just kind of annoys me when people like have like a Southern accent, and it's like, yeah, but we're all kind of different. Like
They're all different
I
accents.
wish they had found, and maybe I'm not from Kansas, so I can't speak to the Kansas accent, but it felt like when I was watching it as a person from the South, because I'm so sensitive to Southern accents. There was a Southern accent on The Flash one time, and I was like, stop it. Just stop talking. Just what are you doing? Stop talking. But I kind of wish that and maybe somebody from Kansas, if you're listening, chime in and let us know. But I would love it if they really found like people from Kansas, or like could develop like a Kansas accent to show us kind of what,
they did
be
like
authentic to it.
They did like a Mayor of Easttown thing where like Kate Winslet recorded people from Pennsylvania saying "water ice," and I didn't even say that. I didn't even say that right. I'm close to PA, but I'm not one of them. I'm not of them. You know, go Birds. But like that doesn't mean I could say the water ice correctly. But yeah, like she like really got into it because it's a very hard. That accent was a very hard accent. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, get in there, mix it up with the specific regional accents.
Sometimes I feel like the Superman iterations, and this goes for all of them, I don't think they lean into the Kansas thing enough. I don't feel like I get to know like what Kansas is like. Like I'm sure I've been through Kansas, but I've never like spent time there. What is it like to live there? What would Smallville in Kansas be like? So, if I could write some sort of Superman something, I would really want to dig into the Kansas aspect of it for that. And Stanley in the chat says Rebecca doesn't sound Southern. You should hear me when I get excited or mad. That's when it really comes out. When I recently went to England, we had a local Londoner driving us around, and we were talking about where we're from in Alabama, and we were talking about we're not from Huntsville, but we talked about like things people probably know about Alabama, like Huntsville's where the Space Center is, and so then I started talking about how I had gone to another space thing down at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and I started talking about the reveal that they have of the space shuttle that's there, and how it's so dramatic because you see this video of the space shuttle, and then it like raises this thing and it reveals the actual space shuttle. You can actually go in and see. And at that moment, I got so excited because I loved seeing that space shuttle. And the driver laughed at me because he was like, "You sounded very Southern, American Southern to me right now." And so if I get very excited or mad, that's when it comes out, Stanley.
Also, we have some updates on the crypto popcorn bucket that I think it's important that we share. Mark says, I can tell you the crypto popcorn bucket holds a nearly a full 3.2 ounce bag of popcorn. So that's good.
A live testing of the popcorn situation.
Mark has come back. He is reporting back more. He says, my official verdict, crypto is not in the way of eating the popcorn.
Oh, surprising.
Okay, and it seems like he's not dipping into the popcorn like one of those little desk birds. Mark says he's just kind of looking at me with big puppy dog eyes.
Okay, so is that weird though, Mark? Is that disturbing?
Mark, is it comforting or disturbing that you're eating the popcorn, but crypto is getting none of it? Do you feel guilty?
A real dog probably would be upset with you over that.
Yeah, that is for sure.
But yes, thank you for reporting back on that to know that you've tested it now.
We have like a man
we
on the street testing the crypto popcorn bucket.
Also, there's a Jen in the chat. Jen, is this Jenny that we just read the email? We've got a lot of our listeners joining us.
That's
to,
very fun.
Respond back to the emails. And so Jen, if this is the Jenny who said she hadn't been listening for several years, it says listening on the backlog of my drives to work now. So catching up on Supergirl Radio.
You are maybe just a couple of episodes away from the soap opera arc, and you should keep going.
we dove back into Rebirth. We finished Rebirth. That was a big thing for us. And we also revisited season 1 of Supergirl. So if you like the TV show, we did a rewatch so that Morgan could chime in on the episodes that she was not on for the podcast. So there's so much that you have missed, and I can't wait for you to catch up. Because I think every episode we do is good, but I'm a little biased. So I hope you enjoy that backlog as you drive home now. Well, I think that is going to take us out of all of the feedback. And let's see, are there any things? Okay, so there are some questions in the chat before we check out of here. Ron6751 asks, when do you think we will see Superman interacting with the DCU Batman? My response to that question is, I have no idea. And I don't know that they know.
I don't think that they know either. I'm not like up on it. Maybe I haven't seen it in my travels through the internet, but I don't think that there is a completed script for the Batman thing yet, the Batman movie. So my guess is, yeah, they also don't know.
That's why they're really honing in on the super family.
Exactly. They're like, we
can do this one thing.
We love the Superman and we love Supergirl.
We have those characters.
We got them. We're working on the Batman stuff. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I think it really depends on how the different Batman stuff that they're developing right now, how that goes.
And maybe they're waiting until the Matt Reeves Superman, the Battinson. Maybe after that ends, maybe, I don't know.
Rachel has a controversial view. I
don't know. I kind of feel this is like mainstream, though.
I think they should just give Batman a rest. We've had enough Batman for a while. Rachel, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand that, like, the WB, they love Batman so much. Like, they feel comfortable with Batman. Batman is their safe character. He's their safe space. You can't take Batman away from the WB. They won't know what to do.
I don't know that they will not include him. I think it would be fine to maybe have a movie about they have a Green Lantern TV show.
We have seen a lot of Batman. I will say, as a person who's enjoyed almost all of the Batman movies, I think there's been so many of them. For a while, it was like the only thing that the WB felt confident that they could do was like a Batman. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm excited for whatever the Batman movie is, but like, do we necessarily need another Batman? No, we don't. But yeah, we're gonna get one. Don't worry.
I think the initial pitch for the initial slate was like a Batman family sort of movie with, I think Damian Wayne was supposed to be in it. So
everyone loves him.
I don't,
right?
I don't need Damian Wayne.
Isn't everybody just like a pretty big Damian Wayne fan? That's like the pulse I was getting on the comic book community. Everyone's like nuts about Damian.
There are Damian fans. So
I'm sure there are actually.
If you loved
emails, I don't appreciate your tone, Morgan.
If you love Damian, that's great. I just don't personally love Damian Wayne. But I think that's what they were going for. So I don't know. I don't think they've given up on Batman, but I think it's fine if we don't have a Batman.
Mind the Gap makes a pretty good point. He says, Rachel, as the characters near the public domain mark, I have a feeling we will see more Superman and Batman. I don't know what they're gonna do about they're gonna try to keep them out of the public domain. That is for sure. Yeah, will they be able to?
So the way that works, correct me if I'm wrong, Morgan, is that if they continue making things, they can push that deadline back. Isn't that why
think
Disney's been doing
so.
all those live action movies? Is that they're trying to keep.
Oh my God, you're probably right.
That's what I was thinking. Is that they're trying to.
Oh, they're like, no one can get Beauty and the Beast.
Like they don't want Snow White the animated movie to go, I guess, into public domain.
Oh my God.
And so
I
that's
mean,
how they make Snow
I think
White
it's especially rich from Disney, and here's why. Because all of their stuff is from like storybooks and like fairy tales and stuff like that. Not a lot of the Disney movies that we think of are fully original. So they have some nerve being like, you can't use our stuff.
Yeah.
You use their stuff. The Lion King is Hamlet. How dare you? I see you, Disney.
Even the animation for the Lion King, I think they kind of stole from something else.
I think it was from like Kimba or something, like a Japanese.
The Lion King is so good, but they kind
it's so
of ripped
good.
off on
They
a lot of
kissed them.
things, though.
You know, listen, they put it in a blender, and that turned out into a delicious smoothie. But
and then they made a live action version of the animated,
which exists.
Yeah. But that Hans Zimmer, like Elton John combo in that original movie.
So good. So Stanley says, no, it's a hard 95-year limit. So that should probably be pretty concerning for them. Because is Superman or Batman, one of them hit like 85 pretty.
Superman was first published in 1938. Batman was 1 year later in 1939. So
man.
So it's coming up for them. So it could be a public domain thing.
That's very funny. Not something I thought about, but yeah, I could definitely see that. Like Disney, I think Mickey, like one of the like Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse or something recently.
Steamboat Willie is in public domain now, and I think is Oswald the Rabbit. Is he public domain?
Probably. I have to imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are really trying.
They're gonna lose their mind when real Mickey goes in.
Disney is very litigious, so they do not want Mickey Mouse to be in the public domain. Although they never make a Mickey Mouse movie. This is a totally tangent thing.
Okay, we're off in the in the atmosphere, but I will. Why is there no Mickey movie? Honestly,
I don't understand. I mean, they make like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, like kids animation.
Yeah, like for little, like
don't ask me how I know about Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I was over at one of my friends' small child.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, "What is this?" Yeah, no, it's great. But yeah, there's not enough Mickey stuff out there. That's my hot take on Superman 2025.
Where are the Mickey Mouse movies?
Hold on. Yeah. Mark says it's a hard limit, but only the versions of the characters as they existed then becomes public. So in that era, Superman can't fly, Batman can't drive a red sedan, etc.
So when Superman goes into public domain, or when that time comes around, you could use Superman if you don't have him fly?
I guess once he enters the public domain, yeah, but only that version, only the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse.
We're writing a Superman comic.
Listen. I'm like count down the days. TikTok. People are like, oh no, please don't.
we can make a golden age Superman who's like beating up criminals.
Yeah, we can like throwing cars at people. I love it. Let's do it. Just leaving his cousin in random places, renaming people. We don't get a chance to do a Superman leaving Supergirl in an orphanage until like 2050s. It's like 2059. Wow, we're gonna have to workshop that for a long time.
We've got several decades.
Oh boy.
When we can write Supergirl in public domain,
oh my God.
We've got to live long enough to
strap in.
Make sure you're going to the doctor. Drink your vitamin C to
Rebecca,
get some vitamin
D. I sent you the pages.
We're sending pages through like our eyeballs or something.
Exactly. So I'm like thinking them to you like Martian Manhunter. I actually use that power.
Yes. So that's an interesting public domain conversation. So we'll see what they do with Batman, but I don't anticipate seeing Batman anytime soon.
Rachel asks, have you watched Superman Unbound? That one does have Supergirl in it.
Did we? I feel like, do we have an
I have
episode
no
on
memories
Unbound?
of it.
I want to say we've almost made 500 episodes, so sometimes I forget things.
I mean, anything is possible, honestly, but my memory is notoriously poor.
So we have a Supergirl Radio episode on Superman Unbound from April 21st, 2015. So a good decade. This would have been before you. This was the Teresa Jacino era.
The Teresa era.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we have an episode. No, I have not watched it. I have not watched that one, but now I'll need to look it up, just to beef up my knowledge.
Yeah, that was an early episode. It looks like Michael Bailey maybe joined us for that one.
Oh, that's fun. That sounds like a good episode. Now I'm gonna watch the movie. I'm gonna listen to the episode.
So if you are a fan of Michael Bailey, which he's gotten a lot of shout outs in this episode of Supergirl Radio.
This is a big one for
so you can listen to that episode for Michael's thoughts.
And then we just have a couple of quick Superman 2025 thoughts in the chat.
Okay.
So this one comes from Game Freakness, who says they should have added an origin story and added an extra 30 minutes to the movie and removed a bit of the humor. Which I think those are all fair critiques.
So the origin story, I don't guess you need an origin story, but I think they could have developed the Clark Kent character more.
I think
even if you don't show him like crashing to Earth and all that stuff, even Man of Steel kind of made that very quick. Once he crashes to Earth, they had a time jump. But I think for me, I think it would have helped if they had given Clark more development.
I do feel like it's one of those things where it's like, Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. We have seen those origin stories about 100 times. So I was fine with there being no origin story. But I know some people really like the origin story. So I can get why people might be bummed not to see it. But I think for a lot of us who've seen it 100 times, it's like, that's fine. Yeah, we got it. So I see Stanley in the chat said, James Gunn should only direct wacky comedies. So that is, I
think James Gunn should direct whatever movies he wants to make. Even though I don't love them, I think he should have the ability to direct whatever stories and whatever tone he wants to do. But that seems to be his most comfortable place, is having like a team up movie with cute animals in it. That seems to be his like comfort zone. But yeah, I think he should make whatever movies he wants to make.
And then Mind the Gap says, it's not the best movie, but I think it's my favorite Superman movie.
This is Superman 2025.
Superman 2025, of course.
Okay.
But then again, I don't like Superman movies, really. They're really amazing. Really high praise. I prefer the character in TV, cartoons, and funny books. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I think Superman for a long time, I think he has historically, I think, thrived more on television than he has in movies.
I would agree.
Because there's the Adventures of Superman TV show. There's Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman. There's Smallville. There's Superman and Lois. There were the Superboy episodes.
I feel like it's harder to find a time when there wasn't a Superman TV show on the air than
it's like every 10 years.
Yeah, it really is. There's like a small gap sometimes that you get where there's no Superman TV show, and like just think to yourself, don't worry, it's coming.
Even Krypton on Sci-Fi, even though it had no Superman, but it still existed. Like it was still a TV show in live action. So I think that's a fair critique, is that Superman seems to do better on TV.
And that's all of our feedback.
Okay. Well, thank you to everybody who...
We've done it again.
Yes. Hopefully this one is not as long. It's a little shorter this week. But thank you all for chiming in. So that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. If you would like to contact us, like a lot of these people did, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you are listening to this podcast. Supergirl Radio is part of the DCTV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so please go check those those out. You can hang out with us as we go live and wired, usually on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. I goofed that up this week because we changed for scheduling purposes, but usually, pretty typically, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, with the occasional Wednesday or Thursday or Monday. Sometimes we have to change it.
We mix it up occasionally, but mostly Tuesdays.
But mostly Tuesdays on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. DCTV Podcast also has a TeePublic store. So if you're also in need of some DCTV, DC Comics, Superman, Supergirl related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, you can go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And with Superman hitting digital soon, obviously, we encourage you to visit the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store and let people know that you're watching it just for Supergirl.
Yeah, so you can still get the Just Here for Supergirl merchandise.
You can like your friend's watch party. They're inviting you over. Wear this. Let the people know. Let the people know.
I can't wait because I am going to Dragon Con in 2 weeks, and I'm so ready.
Bringing out that shirt.
I've got to be strategic on when I wear it. But
you got to let the people know.
I got to let them know. I came to Dragon Con just for
Supergirl.
Which is actually pretty true for me. So we do have a lot of cool designs in the DCTV Podcast TeePublic store. So please go check those out. If you would like to support us, we have a Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio and support the podcast. The people who do that, we call them the Legion of Super Sponsors. And these people are Michael, Anne-Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Majuba, Andy, Rachel, and Kit. So consider it if you would like to do so. Okay, and I guess you could find me on a couple of places. I'm on several social media platforms, my favorite of which is Vero True Social. So if you aren't over there, it's so quiet and lovely. I just post about what music I'm listening to and what movies I'm watching. So it is such a nice place to just see what people are into. What are other people watching? You can find me there at Derby Kid. I'm also on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. Eventually, I'm going to get around to posting my England travel pictures at a social media platform user handle called @OasisBroom that I do with my brother. So eventually that's going to be coming. So I definitely would recommend it if you want to follow me on the interwebs.
Really cool. I can't wait to see all of the UK stuff that you guys are going to post.
We did some cool things, saw some cool places, went to a lot of palaces. And
that's my favorite.
We lots of palaces, a fancy place for afternoon tea. So yeah, we did some cool stuff.
Nice. And you can find me on the internet at Mojotastic and also as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where we're taking a little bit of a summer break. Everybody's been out and about and all around. And Kat is still in Europe. But when she gets back, we're going to dive right back in. And we haven't quite decided what the topic is. So if you want to be surprised with the rest of us, you can follow at the Legendary Ladies on YouTube, on Instagram, or you can email us at the you can email us. I can't remember our email address to let us know what you want to hear. We are the legendaryladies@gmail.com. Tell us what you want us to cover, because I think we're going to have to figure it out. And if you have an idea, we'll take that.
I know sometimes y'all review like albums and stuff. I know the new Taylor Swift.
I know.
Has it dropped or did she just announce it?
It hasn't dropped yet. It's dropping October 3rd.
Oh, okay.
I might have watched the podcast announcement that she was on with her boyfriend last night.
I'm sure that was riveting.
There was a group chat and it was like, oh my God, I'm watching the podcast right now. And I was like, okay. And then I put it on and it was apparently it was so viewed that I think it shut down, like it just shut itself down when it hit like 1 million viewers. Yeah, you know, Taylor, she's just out there, she's doing it. Yeah, but I'm sure we will probably talk about the new Taylor Swift when it comes out.
Also, I've heard people tell me that I need to watch K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix before I go to Dragon Con.
You absolutely do. It's very important to me personally. We watched it because my friend Sarah suggested it. She's like, you should watch K-pop Demon Hunters. And then we became obsessed with it. And then we would play the songs a lot in our house and sing along. And the songs are really good. They're all like bangers. So it's a really fun animated movie on Netflix. So I was wondering if we might perhaps cover K-pop.
Okay, yeah, that seems like something up y'all's alley. Also, I know I've mentioned it before. This is nothing to do with Superman or Supergirl, but Fisk on Netflix.
So
season 3 is coming out, and I need for you to watch the show.
Okay, so I will.
It's important to me personally that you watch the show.
I started it on an airplane to Aruba, and I need to get back to it because I watched like the first, I want to say episode or 2, and I was like, this is great and I like this a lot, but I need to get back in and watch so that I'm ready for season 3. So I feel like also short seasons, like 8 episodes or something.
It's not much of a time
episodes. I can like slam through this in a week for sure.
There's a season 2 episode, I think, that involves a scarecrow that they put outside their office, and
amazing.
It is hilarious.
I'm really
need you to watch the show.
I liked the running joke in like I think the first or second episode where she goes into like the crappy convenience store for the coffee.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm on board with Fisk. This is great.
Fisk has many troubles with like the local coffee place. They don't like her very much.
It's so great.
So if I could recommend anything for you all to talk about, I would love to hear your input on Fisk.
Oh my God, yes, that would be really fun.
So I'm very excited that the season 3 it's an Australian show that has been appearing on Netflix. So if you want like a really just kind of a cozy little comedy that makes you laugh, Fisk is so good. At the end of season 2, it culminates into the wackiest thing I've seen in a while.
I can't wait.
It was pretty funny.
Because I saw this pop up the other day on my like Netflix, like, hey, you were watching this. And I was like, oh, I really need to get back to that. And this is going to motivate me to put Fisk higher up on the list.
I'm going to have to do a rewatch of Fisk season 2 to prepare for season 3.
To get ready, emotionally ready.
I'm so excited. I don't watch a lot of TV these days, but I love Fisk. And I'm so excited she's coming back. So that's a tangent, but everybody go watch Fisk. It's an amazing TV show. Okay, well, I think we've gotten through all of our plugs. So that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I am still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And thanks to everyone who shared your thoughts about Superman 2025.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!